Hi, let's continue our tutorials of a list of issues and solutions of Oracle Cloud, and this will be patch number 3. Again, for any issue you have to investigate until you find the root cause of the issues and decide to resolve it either by standard way or workaround, or the last options to raise SR with Oracle support. So this is a list of issues, like common issues. Some of them I already faced, and maybe you faced also. So let's start. First of all, that create mass addition doesn't transfer invoices to Fusion assets. As you know that there is one way to transfer assets from AB to FA. Once you create the invoice, you have to run create mass additions to transfer these assets to FA from AB. In some cases, this schedule process not transfer the invoice. What are the prerequisites? So first, you have to know the prerequisites for the mass addition process to transfer payable transactions to FA module. First of all, think that in order for invoice distribution amount to be transferred, the invoice should meet the following conditions. First of thing, the invoice is approved. This is required only when you have in Manage Invoice Options task that the option require approval before accounting, enabled for your specific business unit. Invoice line distribution is finally accounted. Invoice distribution line is charged to account set up as account type either CIP or capitalized, or expense type as expensed asset. If invoice distribution charge account is in asset type, then the account must be set up in fixed assets for specific asset category as either asset clearing account, CIP clearing account. If it's not set up, mass addition create will select the invoice distribution line for evaluation, but if it will be rejected by the Fusion asset code. At that point, assets addition flag is set to no as line was evaluated but rejected. Track as assets checkbox is enabled automatically if the distribution charge account is an asset type account and cannot be changed. Counting GL date on the invoice line distribution is on or before the date specified in the create mass addition parameters. Asset book is associated to the same ledger as the ledger on which AB invoice is created. User running create mass addition process must have access to the ledger and must have a payables rules having proper data access to the specific BU as a business unit. Issue number 2, source lines from Oracle Fusion Cloud Procurement is not creating the asset in fixed assets. This issue can be reduced with the following steps: that create expense item, fixed assets, attributes, costing enabled no, inventory assets no, enable asset tracking full life cycle, enable asset maintenance yes, create fixed assets at receipt. Create PO, create receipt pathway for PO, create receipt accounting that transfer transaction from receiving to costing, create receipt accounting distribution, create accounting for receipt accounting. Check and review receipt accounting distributions to events are posted finally accounted. Run transfer receipts to mass additions. This is another way to transfer fixed assets from procurement receipts direct to FA, which is named under receipt upon fixed assets open receipting or open receipt in supply chain. So in these steps you have to create item with these parameters or with these fields checkboxes: create, receipt, run, and then run to mass addition. So this program will transfer this receipt lines which is related to fixed assets from procurement direct to fixed assets. Confirm process run to success. Check in fixed assets, no source line created. This is the issues. The code is maybe category used to create purchase order was not set up for the asset book on the fixed asset side. BO line was created for a category ID that hasn't been assigned to asset book. Solutions, 2 options to resolve. Option 1, create BO using an item linked to a category already assigned to asset book. Option 2, create asset category assignment for book before using the item. Issue number 3, asset post mass addition, no record processed. Date placed in service in future period. This is a common issue here when running post mass addition. Process ends successfully but no records processed. Steps: issue can reproduced at navigate to fixed assets, select addition info tile, click ready to post, click post, navigate to schedule process, view post mass addition, and no record were processed or proceed. Code: the issue is caused by that date placed in service assigned to the assets is future period. That is not open in fixed assets. So the process didn't pick up the transactions for the current period. Solutions is to add assets with a date placed in service within current period or older of the fixed assets periods. If the date placed in service is for future, post mass additions will process the records once the period is open. Issue number 4, asset post mass additions. I think this is okay, this is duplicated. Okay. Issue number 5, that during creation AR receipt you may face like receive these issues if ND unique always used, and also unique used if ND1 cause message blah blah blah. The issue is when try to attempt to create receipts, observe error. Once you open the AR receipts and try to enter receipt methods and the dates and whatever, you find like this common issue or common error. Business impact, that user cannot create receipts. What is the problem here? Document sequence. Document sequence category for the selected receipt methods has not been assigned to a document sequence. So you can run this query to check it. You will find no data available. So in this case, you have to create the sequence for this specific receipt method. So manage document sequence task, assign document sequence category name for both automatic and the manual methods, retest creating receipts with this receipt method in AR account receivables. This is also a common issues. I already faced like these issues in my organization. Also, if the receipt method is not available for the selection in the assignment sections, this need to be created in manage document sequence categories tasks. Because as you know, to define the sequence, you have to define first sequence and inform or mention the start number of the sequence. After that, you have to assign the document to the sequence. In this case, the document type will be receipt method. Issue number 6, no tax is calculated for intercompany invoice imported from AGIS. That receivable AR intercompany invoice is not generating any tax. Tax is calculating correctly for UI as the user interface receivable transactions for same customer's address transaction type. Also, tax is calculating for the intercompany invoice imported into AB, but in this case, that expect also to calculate tax on AR intercompany invoice, right? So the steps: add, create intercompany, transfer to AR, no tax calculated. This is our issues. But when you transfer the same invoice or the same intercompany batch to AP, tax is calculated. Code is that maybe item validation organization was not set up for AR system options, and the result, the system is not defaulting tax classification code correctly during auto invoice process. Also, To resolve, you have to perform the following steps. Just manage receivable system options, specify by issue business unit, populate item validation organization. This is required even if you are not using Fusion inventory or order management application. Retest tax classification calculation for intercompany invoice. Issue number 7. In some cases that you face like all of these issue code, asset number already exists, asset number again already exists, enter a unique asset number, a tag number, all of these the same. So choose a unique value for the asset number and the tag number, because it's not allowed to duplicate the same asset number and the tag number, or asset number or tag number. Issue number 8. This asset number is reserved for automatic asset numbering. This asset number falls in the automatic number sequence range. Select a different again asset number without the automatic numbering sequence range. As you know, for the sequence in assets, there are two ways, either automatic or manual, or both. This is in the system option of the fixed assets. For example, if you restrict or unchecked the manually, so the one way only to automatic asset sequence or asset number. If you enable the manually, so the users have two options: either let the system generate automatic asset number, or the user can enter the asset number manually during addition the assets. Issue number 9. Again, you must set up prorate calendar prorate convenger, or date place in service must be later than or equal to the oldest date place in service you specified in the system control. Based on the date place in service, no prorate date could be determined as it's not set up yet for this date. All calendar must be set up from period corresponding to the oldest date place in service to the current period. Set up a new calendar and a new book that includes earliest date place in service, alternatively correct date place in service. Issue number 10. The date place in service must be within current period or period of book. You cannot enter date place in service that is in the future. Date place in service must be a date in the current open FA period or as far backdated as the oldest date placed in service. It cannot be in future FA period, so you have to correct date place in service. Issue number, again it's sorry for that. Issue number 11. You must enter a value other than 0 for the cost. Again, for FA, capitalized assets cannot be added with 0 cost. Issue number 12. You must not enter cost for CIP assets. When adding CIP, which is capital in process, it must have 0 cost. Add source lines to the assets after the CIP asset has been created. Issue number 13. Group assets must have a cost of 0. You cannot add a group assets with a cost greater than 0 or perform cost adjustment directly on a group assets. When adding a group assets, again it must have 0 cost. Add member assets to the group assets, which will carry the cost. Also, you can check my video of the group assets, member assets, and individual assets. Issue number 14. Bonus depreciation reserve cannot be greater than depreciation reserve. Year-to-date bonus depreciation cannot be greater. Life-to-date bonus, year-to-date bonus. Or the life-to-date and year-to-date depreciation must be the same. Year-to-date depreciation and depreciation reserve must be equal when loading lines that are in the current fiscal year. Issue number 15. How to restrict or prevent asset period close if exceptions existing. If exceptions exist, error, unaccounted, non-GL transferred events, how to prevent asset period closure. First of thing, it's best practice to prevent closure of GL accounting period if the accounting period of any of the corresponding subledger is still open, or if incomplete accounting entries or transactions exist over the period. This ensures an effective period close process by validating that all transactions are complete and that incomplete transactions aren't held up during the close. Steps to enable feature of primary ledger, you have to following that. Just go to specify ledger options. There is one specify ledger option with the scope of your ledger, and there is one checkbox. You have to select prevent general ledger period closure when open subledger period exists option in the close period close section. Save and close. Ensure you haven't excluded asset subledger nor any book. If excluded, general ledger period close process skip the period status exception. Check the subledger exclusions in setup and maintenance work using manage general ledger lookup value set or value tasks. Financial area, general ledger task, manage general ledger lookup value. Search for Aura GL include strict period close in the lookup type, and click search. Then ensure the asset subledger is there and check the asset book exclusion in setup and maintenance using also manage fixed assets log page. Search for lookup Aura FA disable strict GL close and ensure no books are listed. Any listed are being excluded from validation. Again, just there are two setups to prevent asset period. First of thing at primary ledger level. The second is lookup for specific fixed assets to ensure that this achievement will be prevent you or users to close the period if there are any exceptions like AB and AR. Issue number 16, manually reconciliation or reconciling bank statement and transactions. There is an error that amount difference exceeds the amount or manual amount tolerance. Reconciliation is not allowed. Please check if the manual reconciliation is one-to-many or many-to-one transactions between bank statement and system transactions solutions. Reconciliation amount tolerance can only be used in one-to-one matching scenarios for both manual and automatic reconciliation. No reconciliation amount tolerance are allowed in one-to-many, many-to-one, or many-to-many matching scenarios. Matching scenarios, as you know, between bank statement and system transactions, there are a lot of types: one-to-many, many-to-one, many-to-many, many-to-one. Tolerance or only applicable for one-to-one. It's not applicable for the rest of the three other types. Issue number 17, again, when you try to unreconcile transactions, you find that you cannot reverse reconciliation for these transactions. It either been unreconciled already or isn't eligible to be unreconciled. This feature provides an additional action on reconciled line being unreconciled transactions. When trying to unreconcile system transaction which is part of reconciliation group which had just one system transaction using unreconciled transaction options, you cannot reverse reconciliation for this. Why is this error through? System transaction attempted to unreconcile is a part of group which contains only one bank statement lines and one payment. Is not required to choose unreconciled transactions. When the group contains only one bank statement and system transactions, in such scenario, you should unreconcile by choosing group and the action unreconcile. Again, the group means once you reconcile one statement line of bank with a lot of, for example, system transactions, the system will consider this like a group. This is means of grouping of reconciliation. Apart from the above, there are multiple conditions where specific transactions cannot be reconciled. First of thing, external transaction is created for a reversal. All external transaction is balancing transactions that is created to balance group during the error reconciliation process, or again, external transaction is balancing that was created to balance group during unreconciliation of reconciled transactions. This message is more generic, indicates specific transactions that user is trying to unreconcile, either not eligible for unreconciliation or already is unreconciled. Sorry for that. Okay. Issue number 18, unreconciled item not appearing in manual reconciliation screen. In the bank account setup, reconciliation start date is set off after the unreconciled statement line dates. Reconcile start date by definition means that any line or transaction before that date will not be available for reconciliation. To reconcile these statement lines, please change reconcile start date to be an appropriate value. Number, payment processed in the payroll are not available for reconciliation in cash management. As you know that there is one option to show or display the payroll transactions in cash management for reconciliation purpose. In some cases, this is not available. Transactions are not automatically transferred to cash management. In order to transfer this payroll transaction to cash management, you have to run transfer transactions to cash management process, and the payroll manager rule is need to run this process from payroll to cash management. Issue number 20, there are some payments that cannot be reconciled. In the manual reconciliation user interface, they show up in the system transaction, but amount column is blank. All these payments are entered with a foreign currency. There was no conversion rate in the system for the dates when the payments were entered. Generally, the daily rate was missing and the required conversion rate entry options was not enabled. This caused the foreign payment to be saved with no conversion rate. To resolve the issues, you have to choose one of the following options: void existing payment with missing conversion rate, enter the daily rate, then re-enter payment and verify that they have correct conversion rate, or enter missing daily rates, run apply missing conversion rate process, apply missing conversion rates process, use conversion rate informations in the Oracle Fusion GL daily rate table to enter conversion rates for any foreign currency invoices or payments that have no conversion rates. To avoid encountering these issues in the future, it's recommended to enable require conversion rate entry under setup and maintenance from define invoice and the payment configuration. Define common options for payables and procurement, and when these options is turned on, users cannot save payment without exchange rate. Issue number 21, when attempting to manually reconcile bank account getting the error, amount difference exceed manual amount tolerance. Again, bank reconciliation variance is less than, for example, this decimal point in Fusion don't extend beyond 2 digits. Suggested approach is to set up bank statement reconciliation tolerance rules. Number 22, manual reconciliation new user interface doesn't show transaction type for the AR receipt. Transaction type in managed reconciliation is dependent on the setup managed cash transaction type mapping. Transaction types in there are form lookup. There are lookup for transaction, CE tracks type with cash management lookup. In cash management transaction type mapping, you would need to create mapping based off your receipt methods. For example, you would click create, type would be receipt, transaction type could be miscellaneous, and the method could be manual. From this mapping cash management type setup maintenance, transaction type mapping, create, receipt, transaction type, method, and save. Issue number 23, general ledger journals unavailable for manual reconciliation. Again, you can also make reconcile for any GL journals which is related to cash account of the bank. You can reconcile it with cash management. In some cases, this journal is not available for manual reconciliation in CE. This is that you have to first define it, these functionalities, which is in release 12, where could be reconcile GL journals with bank statement lines. We cannot. This is defined in the current release, didn't will be considered for future releases. It's like a bug, but again, you have to either reverse journals, create external transaction with account option enabled, reconcile with bank statement and account the transactions. You have to check the release first of your organizations. After that, there is one setup. Also, we did one videos before to match criteria for GL journals to be available in cash management for reconciliations. Check this. If not, so this is the workaround until this enhancement is resolved, but I think this enhancement is resolved and currently you can set up and enable these journals GL to be available in cash management. Number 24, why cash management users cannot see reversed receipt available for reconciliation with bank statement. How can user reconcile insufficient fund receipt with a statement line? Reason why manually reversed receipts are not available in cash management is explained. There is bug that receipts are reversed as non-sufficient fund categories. This is normal behavior. Reversed receipts are not shown in manual reconciliation user interface. What users can do in this case is reconcile the two statement lines for debit and credit among themselves so that the statement is marked as complete. For example, if you have to, in this case, you will have two lines in bank statement, one positive, one negative, one debit, one credit, so you can reconcile both themselves among, so statement will be marked or status will be changed to complete. For direct debit automatic receipts, it was opened. Again, there is one enhancement request for this, which is bug number under this number. Functional description and resolution. Automatic reconciliation program has been enhanced to allow for automatic reversal of cleared unreconciled receipts received based on reversal lines present in the bank statement. Reversal line in the bank statement are identified using reversal indicator attributes of the bank statement line. This can be set manually in the statement line created or edit user interface or imported automatically based on transaction code. Reversal operation is controlled by setting proprietary reversal or reversal processing methods, which is defined in bank account setup user interface under reconciliation controls. Possible values are: A indicates no reversal action, current default behavior. B reverse matching receipts using standard reversal. C debit memo reverse matching receipt using debit memo. And again also, which is related to the same issue, if a non-empty reversal processing method is specified for bank account when auto reconciliation program is run, after regular reconciliation and matching, reversal process is executed for each reversal statement line. Program looks for a match receipt based on the following criteria. A receipt should be reconciled. Receipt number should match reconciliation reference for the reversal statement line. Reversal statement line amount should match cleared amount of the reconciled receipt. For receipts that are matched, reversal is done based on selected method. Reverse debit memo reverse. reverse statement line is reconciled against a placeholder external transactions that is creating having origin reversal and reverse text equal receipt number that is reversed. At the moment, there are the only possibilities which we found, nothing for the manual reconciliation implemented since the bug number, this number. Issue number 25, what to check when general ledger reconciliation report showing differences. GL cash account balance, adjusted bank statement balance. First, to ensure this receipt or this report is accurate, you have first perform these tasks. Reconcile all statements in cash management, transfer journal entries from Oracle Payable receivables to GL, post journals in GL, run report for the current GL period. Second, there can be various reasons for the difference between GL cash account balance and adjusted bank balance, like there can some transactions that are not reconciled or accounted and posted GL. There can be journals entries that are posted to GL cash account different from the cash account defined in bank account setup. There can be some miscellaneous payment or receipts line in bank statements that are unreconciled, and there is a difference between GL cash account and bank statement closing balance in previous period that is being carried forward to the current period. In order to have GL reconciliation report showing correct balances, it's recommended to firstly reconcile, post all transactions to GL, then run this report to analyze the differences. Thanks for watching. Good luck.